Here together, remember the stage was here. Anyone here in 2013? Anyone here in 2013 where we broke records? Where 5,000 of you are here. He's here with me, my brother Kwan Yue Keng. Give him a big hand. All yours, Mr. Kwan.
I think I use that.
Yeah, okay lah.
I think I'll use this. Thank you, Gilbert, once again for putting your faith in me. I hope I won't let you down. And thank goodness, my speaker's permit, just as I said just now, came in, all right, on my phone. So I can speak freely, all right. Now, I've already actually prepared my speech, and so it is not going to waste. Now, let's touch on, again, like my colleague Simon just now, let me touch on CECA first. In addition to what Simon has told you, I want you to think of one more point about CECA, all right? Now, this is actually a form of free trade agreement, the movement of investment between two countries. Except that in CECA, there were special conditions. Not only was it movement of investment, all right, either way, but this was an unprecedented, never happened before, unprecedented allowance of labor from one of the partners to the other one. And today we know the consequences after almost 13 years of application of CECA, that in that agreement we allow Indian professionals, all right, professionals, not construction workers. Construction workers, we can still get them from Bangladesh, from Thailand, Malaysia. But these are for professional, managerial, engineering, technical staff. This is the unprecedented. No other countries have made this kind of agreement. India has a population of how much? 1.3 billion. They have overtaken China as the most populous nation in the world. 1.3 something billion. 1% is 13 million. 0.1% is 1.3 million. 0.01% is 130,000. So even if we allow 0.001% of Indians to come in, we become Singapore. No more Singapore, right? So now, why has the PAP not foresee this kind of development? We have all the best brains. They claim to have all the PhDs and all the first-class honors people in government. They have the best that Singapore. Is this what they can produce? Yeah, $1 million salary, all right? The highest paid ministers in the world. Is this what they can come up with? All right. Vote wisely, Vote wisely at the coming general elections. Now, so as part of CECA, all right, all the government linked companies and our sovereign wealth funds can invest in a variety of Indian companies, like what Simon has said, could be Tata Industries, for example. All right. So now, after 13 years, the people in Temasek and GIC said, hey, we are not getting good returns, man. We are getting better in returns elsewhere in other parts of the world. Hey, how come we are not getting good returns from our Indian investment? So they speak to the government. And one of the reasons, all right, which now is publicly known and which they cannot deny, is that the Indian government says, hey, we cannot tell these corporations what to do. Because in India, the government is not into business of running a business. They are only in the business of governing the country. Unlike Singapore, where this government is not only running a government, they are also running all the businesses. All the major businesses are in the government hands. But that's not so in India. In India, the government says, hey, Mr. Modi cannot say, hey, tell the president of Tata Industries, hey, you better allow more Singaporeans to invest, sell more shares to Singapore companies. He can't do that. So now they're stuck. But at the same time, once they stop Indian professionals from coming in, they will protest. Hey, you're not fulfilling your section, your promise of the agreement. So who is always on the losing end? You tell me. Yeah. Is this what our $1 million ministers, this kind of agreement they can come up with? Do they deserve the $1 million salary to do things like that? Now, yes, let's think about this, all right? So, thank you very much. Now, go home. Speak to your colleagues. Go to your office. All right? Speak to your brothers, sisters, cousins. Speak to your colleagues. Tell them that this is what is happening in Singapore. All right? Yeah. Changi Industrial Park is known as Singapore already. Now, back to the condominium parking issue. All right? That is also actually, well, I cannot mention name. All I say is the condominium parking incident. All right? This issue, all right, as what Mr. Tan said, some very concerned citizens have raised a petition on the internet asking people to do petition for two things, all right? To petition his citizenship to be revoked and petition his boss to sack him. And like Mr. Tan, all right, I'm also angry. I'm very, very angry. But let us be rational, very rational, all right? Let's give him a chance. We are a big-hearted people. We are a good country. We are good citizens. Give the fella a chance. Never mind, all right? We are big enough. Yeah, but a lesson must be taught. By doing so, I think the message has gone on to this guy that I think in his heart, he feels, shit, I have done something wrong. Okay? All right. No, the degree of remorse is different, all right? Whether his degree of remorse is very high or very low, we leave it to his conscience. But we must show that we are big-hearted people, all right? We are forgiving enough. I think we have done enough. And this has provoked reaction from people accusing the petition raisers as, now this is a very strong word which was used against those people who organized the petition. They used the word xeno-apartheid. Now this is a combination of xenophobia and apartheid. These are the two most racialistic description you can give a person or an organization. Xeno-apartheid. We know that apartheid does not exist anymore. That was the worst form of racialism that ever existed in the history, in the modern history of mankind. That the South African government, all right, treated all the blacks as almost like slaves. Nelson Mandela was locked up for 25 years because he spoke out against apartheid. So, for some people to criticize the petition raisers, all right, against this guy in black here, to be sacked and to have his citizenship revoked, they use that, oh, you guys are xeno-apartheid. That is a very extreme form of racialism to use. So therefore, I really urge my fellow Singaporeans, let us be big-hearted enough to let this issue die. I think, all right, with apologies, I think Ramesh has learned his lesson. So let us say that, but we have learned a lesson that this is one of the consequences of our liberal foreign talent policy. They say that this guy in black is already a citizen, so we shouldn't hit him too hard. But he came here about 10 years ago. Definitely it was under CECA policies, because CECA policies was, well, 15, 13 years ago. So he must have got his work permit, all right, because of his qualifications and so on and so forth. All right, that was a CECA policy. So now, which brings me, all right, to the last point. All right, Gilbert, my last point. I know we still have some more speakers. The last point I want to make, rising out of this issue, a combination of CECA and 6.9 million population. With the ever-increasing population that is brought into Singapore, the question we Singaporeans must ask ourselves is, shall we accommodate ourselves to their culture, or they should accommodate themselves to Singapore? Right? Shouldn't it be they accept what we practice here, what we believe here, and the things we do here, rather than the other way around? We have to follow all these foreigners who are so exclusive, all right? They stick to themselves. In fact, enclaves are being formed, and they expect we Singaporeans to behave as they do. This is ridiculous, this is nonsense. They should be adopting our culture. They should pledge loyalty, we the citizens of Singapore, not we the citizens of India. Do we see the sentiments arising out of all these? Now, I'm not just talking of the Indian community, because we mentioned CECA. There are so many of other races, Asian races being brought in, all right? For example, the Filipinos, the mainland Chinese, and also Malaysians. Shouldn't they all learn to accept Singapore as now their home and behave towards Singapore like we do, right? Thank you very much. Hey Gilbert, I've already waved the flag. You want me to wave one more time? Shall I wave one more time?
It's okay, we wave one more time with Mr. Kwan Yue Keng. Give a big hand, Mr. Kwan.
Say no to CECA. Say no to 6.9. Say no to PAP.
Always a pleasure to hear Mr. Kwan, right? He's a walking encyclopedia. Everything he has is in his head.